Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here, Patrick Reusse with me. I don't think there's any secret what we're going to spend most of our time talking about today, Patrick. Just get right into it. Timberwolves 98, Denver 90. Patrick, that game was 58-38 Denver early in the third quarter. It's a game 7. Wolves were down 15 at halftime, meaning their victory, Patrick, was the largest halftime comeback in Game 7 NBA playoff history, as far as we know. That's
That's what
amazing.
they're telling us today. It is incredible. After Game 6, I was talking to my radio guys, and a game in which you led by 50, and
Yes.
I said, I now believe in aliens. I don't believe all this science fiction stuff is science fiction anymore. I believe after
It's
watching
just
this
science.
incredible, idiotic series that there's something going on the planet. And then yesterday is even weirder.
Oh yeah,
Last night it was
two
the
blowouts in
last
one.
two games. The last two games are the two weirdest games of all time. You all of a sudden the other night you look up and you're 45 ahead of them, and you say, "What happened? This is incredible." Denver packed it in, and then last night, it's 58-38. Ant can't make a shot, can't get away from the defense they're playing on them. Their offense looked like a complete mess,
Yeah.
and here they come and start. And it wasn't like a blitz. It was like they just held them. They not score, and then the Timberwolves would come down and hold the ball for 15 seconds and get a basket, and all of a sudden that I wrote something like when this whole thing started that there's nothing quite as weird as the NBA now, because you can be 15, 16 ahead in the middle of the third quarter, late in the third quarter, and the other team scores two baskets, and you say, hey, I don't know. It's getting,
Yes, it's true.
leads go disappear so fast, but this was just incredible. And Denver by with 6, 7 minutes to go, Jokic was walking up the floor. He was dead. He missed 1 minute. And, this is a 300-pound man that's got to do everything for you.
Yes.
I think they really screwed up, and, not giving him the usual 5-minute rest he takes at the start of the second quarter. But, Michael Porter, who they're paying an ungodly amount of money to, no-showed for him the whole series. Murray was great in the first half, nothing in the second half. But when they, you know, you got 3 through 5, and you watch them and you say they can't stop Jokic, they can't stop
Right.
Aaron Gordon, they can't do anything. But then when you see them when they're not functioning, you're saying the Wolves are better than these guys,
Yeah.
and they ended up being better than those guys. They got younger legs.
Yes, I think that's big. Yeah.
McDaniels is fantastic. Edwards was more helpful on defense than offense in about 4 of the games,
Yeah.
and Cat played great.
Yeah.
Cat was terrific, and even the game when he got 10 points, he was terrific, and because he played defense and he
Yeah.
played team ball, and yeah, it's incredible. It just was not big game Minnesota like, was it?
No, and
I mean, it
that's the
wasn't.
thing. Well, that's the thing about this whole team is that they don't play like we've come to expect even the good teams here. Like it just seems like nobody here like overachieves or even properly achieves. I don't even think this team is overachieved at this point. I think they're just good. They're really good. And but you're right. The big games, the big moments in the last, well, I don't know, 25 years, like ever since the 91 World Series, like we're not really accustomed to the really good teams here rising to the occasion. Like it happens sometimes. The Wild have won a bunch of game sevens in there. A lot of them in surprising fashion. The Wolves did get to the
Yeah, but
conference finals 20 years ago exactly
the
after
wild thing. But the wild thing was 2003. Since then,
yes.
they've won two
Yes.
playoff series
Exactly.
total. So
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like
they've laid enough eggs to last forever. But
this is the first series that one of the major Minnesota men's teams has won to get to the conference finals since the Wolves did it 20 years ago. Like the Vikings have won games to get to the conference title game, but the Wild haven't been there since then. The Twins haven't been there since then. The Wolves haven't been there since then. Like they haven't even been this far. So yeah, I think everyone is expecting the worst. And even as the Wolves are making their comeback yesterday, I'm like, okay, well, they got it to 10. Okay, this is still a game. But when it was 58-38, I turned to my wife and I was like, the Wolves aren't going to win this game. Like this is over. And it just seemed like
Yeah.
it was over. We shouldn't be surprised based on this series, but we should be surprised because it was a game seven. They're on the road. They didn't look like they had anything going, and then they did. It was
Uh,
unbelievable.
uh, well, Mrs. Ricey, who's not exactly a hardcore sports fan,
No.
wandered down here in Game 5 and watched the quarter, sitting on the couch down here, watched the second quarter, and said, "How come everybody thinks this team's good?" And went back upstairs. And then last night I went up there at halftime and I said, "It's all over for our boys.
Yeah.
The run is over." And then I don't know. I think it is the weirdest series that I've ever certainly
Yeah.
we've ever had around here, and I think it's one of the weirdest ones I've ever observed fully. I covered the '86 World Series, the Mets, Red Sox, and I've covered a lot of goofy playoff series. But this is the strangest thing of all time, just because it wasn't compelling because of close games. It was
No,
compelling on how do these blowouts happen. Now, last night was a close game.
it
I mean,
was.
they
Yeah.
did not bust it open till what 2 minutes ago or something like
Yeah. And
that. But
even then, it was a little tense after they threw one
yeah,
away at the end. But yeah.
yeah. Well, I texted out that I just feel like. I mean, it looks like they're going to win it now, but I can feel this Drew Pearson moment coming here,
Hmm.
that some disaster. And then they got it 8, and Reggie Miller declares that it's over, and then Cat can't get the
I
ball
know it.
inbounds. And what are you doing, Cat?
I don't
That's
know.
the
Yeah.
one dumb play you made
Yes.
all day was
Yep.
like complete panic with
Yes.
you know where they stink, this team
What?
inbounding the
Inbounds.
ball.
Right.
They are terrible inbounding the ball. They don't, when they have to inbound it, they don't run anything. They don't
Well,
have anything. They don't spend any time
and that.
getting
Go ahead.
figured out how to inbound the ball. Come on.
But that gave us one of the great moments in the game when you maybe when you maybe thought it was going their way when they had to desperately inbound it to Gobert and he makes that ridiculous like 17-foot both in
Yes,
terms of
right.
length and height,
Yeah.
17-footer over Jokic at the shot clock buzzer in the fourth quarter. That's one of those plays where you're like, those are the shots. Those are the weird shots that go in against Minnesota, not for the
No,
Minnesota
no.
teams, right?
And Cat's defense against Jokic,
Yeah.
was really, really sound. And they didn't call a lot of fouls, which was good. But that lets Rudy do what Rudy can do, is what
Yeah.
guard the basket. They can't, they nobody, Aaron Gordon and those guys aren't going to be killing you inside if you got Rudy down there playing at low. But if he's got to come out and guard Jokic, then all of a sudden you can get to the basket. But I mean, their defense the last two games was
Yeah.
magnificent. I mean, it
Yes.
was just fantastic. And our guy Scott Foster, we were a little worried, but
Yes. He was
the
fine.
first 5, 6 minutes, they basically allowed violence. The referees, they
We
didn't
chose
call
woke up and
anything.
chose violence.
It,
Yeah.
it was, and then I said, okay, they're gonna let them play, because I saw something statistically, that guy that was the lead referee on Game 6,
Yeah.
and Mark Davis, is it?
Yeah.
Mark Davis is like calls the fewest fouls in the league.
Right.
And so that's the way games are played there. But I didn't expect that last night. But they let them play, and that really benefits the Timberwolves now.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a break it down guy, but Denver's offense is based on a lot of cuts away
That's
from the
motion.
ball
Yeah.
on when Jokic has got the ball, and
Right.
the fact our fellas were able to hold them up on those cuts helped a lot. The guy that they really got a lot out of that they got nothing out of last night was Aaron Gordon.
Yeah.
He was like the player of the game about three times for them, and then
Yeah.
last night
What do
he
you have,
did
like 5 points
nothing.
last night? I mean, he was still good defensively, but yeah, if he's not scoring, if they don't have if they don't have a third guy that's going, and obviously Murray and Jokic were going last night, but if they don't have a third guy, they're,
Uh,
and Porter was nothing, like you said. Pope didn't do much, and they didn't get much from anybody else. So yeah, if they were kind of stymied there. You made a good
the
point. You made a good point earlier too about Cat and how good he was, and also just the stretch where he got his fifth about, fairly early in the fourth quarter when the Wolves were starting to kind of not pull away, but when they were ahead. Nas gave them some real
three,
that's
4 minutes. I mean,
that's stretch.
the putback dunk on the
Yeah,
ball. Oh, that was unbelievable, man alive. And he chucked in a couple of threes too, didn't he? At least one.
he
He
got
chucked
one
in
three in
three.
there and a
Yeah.
couple of free throws, I think too. I think he had like seven in that stretch.
You know what is weird? His 3-point shot is kind of weird because his release is fantastically quick, but it's certainly not classic because he kind of
No,
brings it up. He brings it up, but
it's almost like a
he's
two-handed set
he,
shot. It's like a push or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's a instant to. I mean, he really has a quick release, and I think when you watch him defensively, he gives you no hint he's going to shoot, and then
yes,
all
that's
of a sudden
true.
the ball's gone, and
Right,
man, he was. I mean, he had his few minutes, and then McDaniel's.
he was great.
The pitch isn't wrong when he says the barometer of our team is how McDaniel plays, and he always plays well defensively, but 6 and 7, he was fabulous. So
Yeah,
you know,
he kind of
and yeah,
started the rally with I think a started the kind of the blitz on game six with the three in the corner that kind of got them going, and then made some big shots yesterday, especially when Ant wasn't hitting. And Ant, what goes 6 of 24. You don't expect they're going to win when he
um,
goes 6 of 24. But I thought, aside from
man,
shooting, he still made the big plays, right? He still had that kind of spurt at the end of the third quarter that got them to within one. We had like the steal and then the dunk, and then the three with Gordon in his face at the buzzer at the end of the third. And then he hit that three with about 3 minutes left to put him up 10. That really kind of felt like it gave him the
yeah,
final
that was the ball.
separation.
That was who made that pass? Was that McDaniel's
That
who made
was
that pass?
it was either
Who made, or
McDaniels
was it
or
Nas?
it was either
I
Nas or
can't remember.
McDaniels. I can't remember who it was in
And
my head
somebody
now.
made a great pass in the corner,
Yes.
and that was right when things were going their way. And if they get one more bucket, they win the
Yep.
game. And then he made that three. But they did a magnificent job on him, double teaming him defensively. And the Wolves couldn't make him pay
No.
the first half. Couldn't make him pay the first 28 minutes or something. But they finally figured out a few things. Yeah, it was. Rarely have I been as surprised at back-to-back games.
Yeah.
Watching Minnesota sports is first of all, you're watching the game six and you're saying, what is
What's
this?
going to
And then they're giving up with like 10 minutes to go, and then they're right. They
right?
should. They're 40 down and 50 down. It was
Yes.
and still people will look at that, and Denver was a 5-point favorite
Yeah.
yesterday after you beat them by 45. So it was really a weird series, and it was fun. And I'm also very happy about one thing, and I hope the Target Center doesn't have a watch party, but they probably will.
Yeah, they probably
Let
will.
the bars around town who've suffered through you stiffs for decades not
Yes.
selling anything, let the bars cooperate with the bars like you've been doing. Let the local sports bars fill themselves to the brim. Tom's Watch Bar downtown, we had a photo of that today, and all these places. We
Hmm.
don't need Target Center, you know, mediocre, overpriced concessions. Let the bars have the watch parties. That's my theory.
I
I
like it.
hate those. I hate watch parties because you're taking money away from people who suffer, you know, all year round trying to
Right.
get somebody to watch your games, and then now all of a sudden you got some enthusiasm, and you gotta have your watch party. Let's let the local bars enjoy this.
Yeah. Well, and they get, the upshot of this too as we move on is Wednesday, game one is here because Dallas
Yes,
beats
right.
Oklahoma City. So they've got home court now in the Western Conference Finals, which again, they did 20 years ago. The only other time they made it, they did have home court in that one too because they were the one
Yep.
seed that year. So, but, I think I saw they're making predictions already on the TNT show, and everybody there predicts Wolves over Mavericks. I mean, on paper, Wolves are better, but the Mavs got a lot better at the trade deadline. They picked
I
up a
got
couple
some
big
size
guys.
there.
They got some size to
Yep.
go with Luka and Kyrie. The perimeter challenge will be much greater than it was in this Denver series because both of those guys are crafty. Both of those guys are, really good at, just getting a basket whenever you need it. So you're not going to have this. I don't think we're going to see the same kind of series. I think we could. I think Dallas. There'll be much closer games. I would imagine with Dallas just because the way Dallas is built. I don't think you're going to see these like blowouts one way or the other. It's probably going to be a little bit more back and forth, but it's right there for them. It's right there in front of them. They're the 3 seed against the 5 seed. That didn't used to happen in the NBA, but I don't know. It's you just kept thinking if they can get past Denver, they've got a real chance here. Now they did. Now they did.
Yes, yeah, and you get to. I'd rather play them in Oklahoma City, but the one thing is Kyrie's well rested because he usually takes half the season off. So
Right.
you're not, he's when he's interested, and he got interested with what about 20 games to go in the season and started playing great, and he's he's it's a lot. It's going to be a lot harder to take him out of the game than it was Murray. I mean,
Yes.
he's an incredibly talented moron. So he's one of the idiots of the NBA.
Right.
The Earth is flat, and I thought that I always thought that was a joke, but it wasn't. And and then Doncic. When Kyrie wasn't playing, Doncic had the ball in his hand more than anybody in the league, and
Yeah.
he's the one thing about Doncic too is last year he got himself in really good shape, and this year they said the hell with it and had a better league. He's back
Right.
being fat again, and he's back being chubby again, and he's fantastic. He's leading them in everything, including rebounds. That's the other thing is whoever got the duty has got to keep him off the boards too. Gets those second chances. So it's yeah, it'll be tough because you got those two. You got two superstars on that team, and but yes, if you just can't get yourself overconfident here now because you know it's going to be a war.
Oh yeah. I think this could be good. I think this could be a really good series. I really do. And I think
Yeah.
I gotta wonder, like, I think they asked Ant, I think it was Ant on the post game last night, said he'd be guarding Kyrie, which makes sense. And I wonder who
I,
Conley gets.
I I don't think that they walked into the locker room after the game yesterday and told Ant he was going to guard Kyrie. I think
Probably
I think
didn't.
that's just Ant babbling.
His
So,
youthful
but
exuberance. He had
yes,
plenty of the youthful exuberance in the post game last night.
yes,
He and
it is really high risk though to put him on national TV right after a game because he might say anything,
it just
including you know, including. I keep telling this, not the foul. Like
yes,
yeah,
yes,
he's something, and it is it is amazing that they've almost been the orphans of Twin Cities big time sports,
yeah,
and this is more excited than they were in '04 hitting the third round because even though they were the home team, the Lakers were
right.
solid favorite.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
the Lakers had Kobe and Shaq at their
right,
prime, for God's
right.
sake. So, and then Sammy Cassell
Got the
got hurt and
Cassell.
you had no
Right,
chance.
right.
But they ended up going six, and but this team is a little different. The league is so much different
Oh
now
gosh,
too. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I mean it's it's a 3-point league, and it's also I think it's in a lot of ways it's a more physical league, even than it was in '04. Now the bad boys and those stuff in the decade earlier, but I don't know. I think how the game is officiated is really more important in the league now than it's ever
Yes.
been. Because if you let them play defense, it's great. And you know what else is making a big comeback too?
Hmm.
The mid range is making a big comeback in those
Especially,
playoffs,
yeah,
don't you think?
especially in the playoffs, because when buckets
Yeah.
are harder to come by, it's
Mhm.
you see these guys taking those 15, 17 footers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ant's taking some, Jamal Murray takes some. Yeah, I think it's just in the playoffs when everybody plays tighter defense, you don't always get that shot that you want. You don't always get the three, the layup or the free throw. Sometimes the shot clock's at 5 and you're like, well, I guess the 17 footer is about as good as it's going to get.
The NBA game to me seems that it doesn't last as long as a football game, but it has so many more plays. In a hockey game, it seems like when you're guarding a lead, it seems like these games are endless. They go on
Right?
forever when your team is
Oh
12 up
yes.
with 6 minutes to go, and the other team hits a bucket. It's I mean it's just with all those possessions, it's just the dramatics of it is just something unbelievable compared to. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. I wrote something saying it's because you every time the ball comes over the timeline, you expect something to happen.
Yes.
Hockey, when the puck comes over the blue line, 98% of the time, it doesn't mean a dang
No,
thing.
just
So,
dump it in and someone else goes and gets it.
yeah, right. I mean, and then, football, it takes you 10 minutes to get down there, whether for an
Right.
important play. So, it's a really a compelling thing, the playoffs, and it's, amazing games in this series, and everything that's happened early in this postseason with them is amazing because who could have guessed they were going to blow Phoenix's doors
No.
off after getting their doors blown off by Phoenix?
Yes.
And who could have guessed that? And then this whole thing is how many times did we? How many times we give up on them? They
Lots.
lose
Yeah.
game 5.
Yes.
It's over. They
They
might
might win
sneak one
6, but they're
out.
not going to win
They might
7. Yeah.
they might sneak one out in 6, and they're
Right.
up 50.
Yes.
It's just really weird. It's really weird, and uh, the one thing we found out: whoever ends up owning the Timberwolves after this is going to have to pay the $109 million. The 109 minutes
Yeah.
because you can't get rid of Cat now,
No.
for
No.
God's sake. So
He showed me something in this series. I
yes,
didn't
yes,
he was very good, and especially in game 7. I know he had that, we talked about the brain cramp with the inbound pass, but right after that he comes back with that putback dunk and they're
put
only up
back, yeah,
5. Conley misses
yes,
that layup. He comes screaming in. Conley was double teamed, so he saw that he had an opening. He comes screaming in, puts that back with about 40 seconds left. Like that could have got a little. They probably still win if he doesn't do that, but that could have got a little uncomfortable if he didn't make that play. And he made a lot of other winning plays in that game, kept them in it when they weren't doing much else. He had other games like that in the series too. He was great in game 2. And his defense, yeah, his defense the whole series, like, you keep hearing, yeah, he's bought into the team concept. He'll do this, he'll do that. I think this series was more evidence of that than I had seen consistently in big moments. So he should get a good amount of praise right now for kind of where his game and mind have evolved to, because he's not a completely mature player, but he's a much more mature, complete player now than he has been.
So, do you think the basketball hating commenters at the Star Tribune articles, feel the need to tell us every time there's a story that they don't play any defense in the NBA,
No, not with this team. Jeez.
would be able to adjust that
Oh,
thinking? I
jeez.
mean, it's always been a ridiculous thing to say, but it is incredible how you can hold a team to 105 points and play great defense, and
Yeah.
because the games last forever, and
And the
this
pace is
team is
quicker. Yeah.
this team. I mean, Ant is, I think in Edwards. Don't you think his defensive game has improved more this year than his
Oh,
offensive game?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at his offensive numbers, they're a little bit better. His efficiency this year is a little bit better, but yeah, the defense and just the possession by possession focus for him on both ends is that's the sharpness, right? Like he used to kind of drift at some points. He'd like kind of rely on the talent, and when that happens, they got the series 2 years ago against Memphis when things were going great, they were going great, but then when things weren't, they weren't. So yeah, I think it's the focus, and I think that comes down to defense for him too. And I think it's what fans really like about this team isn't just Edwards, but like in this market, people love effort. Defense is effort, right? Like you,
And they also like brains, and that's
yes,
I think the real transition with the team was when they got rid of D'Lo and brought in
yeah,
Conley. Because
oh
when
for
you
sure,
watch
yes,
Conley play, you say all your cliches about the NBA and the weirdos that are playing it and stuff. All of a sudden, you got this gentleman who's a
that's
great
a great way
player,
to put it. He's
who's
a
been playing in the
gentleman.
league for 17 years, although I thought he was going to maybe get his first ever technical when they threw him on the floor and then
Yes,
jumped
didn't
on the
call a
ball
foul.
and
Yeah,
ended up calling it a jump ball.
right.
And he's down there
He's
getting
like, I
beat up
called
by
timeout.
two.
I called timeout.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I got told timeout after they threw me on the floor,
right, right,
which you didn't call.
right.
So then I called timeout. And you know, the funny thing is, being a gentleman and never complaining does him no good at all with the officials. All they're going to say is, "That's Connolly. I could,
Right,
I could make a lousy
right,
call on him. He's not going to complain."
right.
So it, it, but the last half of this year too, he's made way more. Uh, Threes when you really wanted
Yeah,
them. And that one he hit on the far sideline yesterday was big in that comeback too. Is
yeah. He
all of a
made a big
sudden
one. He made a couple big ones
because
yesterday.
a lot of times you say, "How do you do it?" Oh, okay,
Yeah,
thank you. We made it. So
yes.
yeah, yeah.
And they need him. They need him. Obviously, I mean, game five they were lost without him. I mean, he played 3 and 4.
Did
They certainly could have won.
did Morris get off the bench last night?
No, they basically they almost played 7 last night. I think Kyle Anderson played 4 minutes, and
Good, that's
then
enough.
Nas and Nah played, kind of their
Nah,
usual.
Nah was terrible. I mean, he
Yeah.
still plays defense,
Yes.
but he missed every shot that they let him take shots, and he missed them all. He never. I don't think he made a shot the last 2, 3
No,
games. Did
he's
he?
not. He's kind of missed on that. But yeah, I think the you
He'll
know
guard you though.
yes.
You
So
know.
he's and that's going to be huge against Dallas, right? Because if you've got Ant playing defense and you got McDaniels and you got Nah kind of swarming around you, that's pretty important against Luka and Kyrie, and they throw Hardaway at you. They've got a lot of guys who can score, but Wolf should
Yeah,
have a
Hardaway.
defensive answer.
You made a good point, Hardaway. He's that third guy who can get hot, man, and make a bunch of threes. So
Yeah, Dallas is good.
he can
Yeah,
shoot. Yeah, they are good.
that'll be a
It'll be
series.
a high octane series. Talk about an ownership weird thing. Cuban sold the team, and
Still
but
shows
he's
up.
still running it. He's still
Yeah,
running it. He's at all the games, and he's jumping around like he still owns it. I don't quite understand that whole thing, but anyway, he'll be here. He'll be here jumping around. So
yeah. Well, it
anyway,
should be a fantastic series. I still can't believe they won that game last night based on where things were. So many plays along the way that you're kind of thinking about now. Like, yeah, the putback by Nas, the Gobert, like I said, the shot clock beating,
Gobert, yeah,
the shot
yeah. He
clock
thought
beater.
not only that, but he had about three other times when he tried to make moves. We don't want you making
No,
moves,
he
Rudy. Just dunk.
just
Just
dunk. You're
stand
good.
out there and dunk.
Right.
But he was like driving, and all of a
Oh yeah,
sudden
there
he
was
thought it
right
was
there was the play where he like basically took it from the 3-point line. Like he's like, oh, Jokic is overplaying me on this side. I think maybe I should
yes,
just
right.
drive to the basket.
Yeah,
I think
but
it
he
it
does.
worked though. I think he got fouled at least. I think he got
What he
something.
ended up, he ended up making about six out of 8 or something
Yeah,
too.
he
Free
fouled
throws,
before he
right?
fouled
8 out
out
of
there.
10,
Yeah,
maybe 7
before he
out of
fouled
10.
out. Yeah, fouled out with
He
about
was
2 minutes
making
left.
his free throws,
He was.
which was unusual to say the least. So yeah, it'll be fun. So
Bef-
Wednesday
Yeah,
when here? Wednesday, Friday, or
Wednesday,
Wednesday,
Friday.
Saturday?
I think the whole series. Yeah, Wednesday, Friday. I think the whole series
Two
is just
days.
every other day. Is every other day.
Okay.
So Wednesday,
Well,
Friday, and then Sunday back in Dallas, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Saturday, Monday, I think is how it goes. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Though, and my poor Knicks, though, man, they had nobody left to
Oh,
play, and
Tibbs.
then
Yeah.
Brunson breaks his hand, and
Yeah.
they got they got all beat to hell. And I sure some people in New York will say, Tibbs, that's what you get for paying everybody 42 minutes. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, the Indiana Celtics are gonna. I would guess the Celtics in 5, and then they can sit around and wait for whatever team whichever team
Yes.
wins this series. So they
Celtics.
also start earlier too, right? They start tomorrow night,
I
right?
think so. They've
Tuesdays.
had a
Yeah.
considerably easier path to their conference final that they had
Yes.
to beat. Who they beat in the first round? It wasn't anybody that was much of anything, and
No,
uh,
they're
then Cleveland, which was banged up, and no
yeah,
Mitchell at the end
yeah.
of that series. So
But our boys got Dallas to worry about, so we'll
yes,
worry about Boston
yes,
later, maybe.
yeah.
So
Royal Credit Union's smart checking accounts offer no monthly fees and no minimum balance. Enjoy financial freedom when you open your Royal Credit Union smart checking account online at rcu.org/go checking. Insured by NCUA.
Well, before we move on to the Twins, which I think is maybe our only other subject, except maybe we might have to talk about one other thing too. But one thing we didn't mention on that Wolves game was, did you see McDaniels with about 20 seconds left try to do the bounce
yeah,
dunk to
that was
himself?
not
What was
smart.
that? I was like, what are
That
you
was not.
doing?
Yeah, I think he gets
Youthful
he gets a
exuberance, I
little
guess.
overamped once in a while. But
Yes.
did you see Jokic come over
Yeah,
and was
yeah.
complaining about it
Like don't
to
do that. Don't do that.
yeah, yeah, not to him, but he came over and said, "What are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
We're because I was really surprised that they gave up with
I
like
did too. There was like
35
20
seconds to
seconds left, and
go.
it was like a
Yeah,
7 or 8 point
gotta
game. You're
keep
like,
following them, and
try one
yeah, and
more
all of a
thing.
sudden
Yeah.
that's a little different than giving up when you're down 40, with
Yes.
2 minutes
Yeah.
to go or something. But that was weird. So, and then yeah, it's well, we do we can McDaniel's in a very quiet way. He can punk you too. So that was a sign of immaturity, even though
Yeah.
he's not. Well, how old
Yeah.
is he now? He's a year older than Cat, right? So he's 23, I think. So
Then Ant.
I
Yeah, I
look,
think he's 23. I think he's
yeah, he's
23.
a year older than Cat. But hey, I tell you, who did a fine job putting this team together? Gerson.
There's a lot of Gerson in this team, isn't there?
There's a lot of Gerson in this team.
Yeah. I
Yes,
mean, you got
yes, it is.
Jaden and Ant in the same draft. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Nas as a
Nas
free
undrafted
agent.
free agent.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
anyway,
we got like three different staffs put this one together, because you got Cat still holding on, and then you got that kind of middle group, and then obviously you had Conley that brought in what,
Rudy.
Rudy and Mike Conley and Nah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
and
That's right.
Anderson, I guess, too. So it's all over the
Yeah,
place.
he's Kyle is I don't know. The more athletic your opposition gets, the more trouble Kyle has. So
Well, and
I'm not a Kyle guy. I'm not a guy. I
he
liked him
can't
last year, but
he
can't
can't
shoot.
he can't play the three. He's not a small forward. You've tried to put him in there when all of your other guys are healthy, when Nas, Cat, and Rudy are all healthy, they're going to take the 96 minutes between the 4 and the 5. And so they try to get Kyle Anderson some minutes at the 3, and he's not quick enough to play the 3. He's just out of position there. And the way
You can take it.
where his value comes in, it was like end of the year he started playing better when Cat was out, because he was playing the 4, and that's where he can actually do some of his good things. So yeah, his
Yeah,
value is diminished right now.
still takes him 4 seconds to get a shot off. So but
Slow
anyway,
mo, he is slow mo.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, yeah, they didn't. How many minutes did he play that meant anything? About 4 a game, right? 4 or
yeah,
5 a
I
game.
think he only
Unless
played
somebody
four
was, as
total
you
in this
say,
game.
if somebody was in foul trouble,
Right.
he played. But Yeah, they're only we talk about their depth, but we only talk about their depth because they got Nas and Nah.
Right.
They're really a 7-person team. So
Yeah, which is okay in the playoffs, and they can be you can be 9 deep in the regular season, and because half the time you're going
what a
against teams that
grind,
aren't any
though!
good. Oh man,
What a grind, though! You're only halfway done here
I
if you
know
make
it.
a run.
I
I
know
mean,
it.
it's incredible. So
Um,
anyway,
Got to talk about the Twins and the surprise. Maybe maybe the scope is not the same, but PWHL Minnesota after like just going what 5 regular season games and then the 2 shutout in the playoff games, they come back and win that series against Toronto.
it's not
Obviously,
exactly a grind to make the finals,
no,
though.
no,
I mean,
that's less of a grind,
yeah,
isn't it?
you
Aren't they
got
in
to
the
get
finals
through one
now?
round. It's a
Right.
6-team
Well,
league,
there's only
but
6 teams, but yeah, the fact that they
but
won those 3 games after losing 7 in a row.
yes,
Good
and
for them.
without
And
any goals, basically, those
no,
games they were getting one might have been their max in those losing streaks, and now they got even last night they got beat, but they got 3 goals or something, right?
yeah,
5-4 for Boston. Well, I don't know. Did anybody show up for Game 5 here? I don't know what crowd they announced, but
in Toronto, I don't know.
I
Yeah.
heard, I heard from no. Oh, and when they played Game 4 here, I mean,
Oh
when
yeah.
they,
I think they were getting
I
a few
don't know.
thousand for those playoff
Yeah,
games here.
yeah, it's a league in its infancy, and and next year it's going to be so much easier when they have a
A
nickname,
nickname and a
isn't it?
logo and all
The
the
Fighting PWHLs or something
yes,
like that.
right.
So, but yeah, I got to tell you, I really have no comments because
Oh,
I went over and no, I didn't think I actually saw it. I didn't see a game. But by the way,
uh-huh.
the one gal I wrote a column about, Tapani,
Yeah.
she's now with Boston, right? Did she score a goal the other night, or is she? They 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 traded her
They did
about
make a
two
trade. I know
days.
that.
They traded her about 2 days after I wrote about her, and then she was in New York, and then I think she switched teams again.
Huh.
So I saw her get a goal. She had a goal the other day, but yeah. Anyway, it's trying to get started, and we'll see what comes of it. But it's yeah, it was weird. I mean, it was fun to joke about how they drove their way into the playoffs or something
Right.
like that. But anyway, it's you know. Then we got the we have now. You know what I discovered?
What's that?
If you're talking about fourths, you got quadrants, right?
Uh-huh.
If you're talking about eighths, there's no word for it.
No.
It's just 1/8. There's no word for it.
Okay.
So the baseball season, you got your 8/8ths, right? And then you got
Roughly
two
so.
games
Yeah.
left
Right.
over. Yeah,
Exactly.
and then you
Roughly
got two
speaking,
games
yes.
left over. So I always call them. So the first eighth, you're 7-13.
The Twins,
The
yes.
next eighth, you're 17-3. And now this eighth, you're 0-6
Yes.
already. And you stink. Offensively, you are awful.
Yes.
Eddie Julian, we were tied into what'd you say? 210 Ian?
210 right
210?
now with 56
210
strikeouts.
strikes out. And it's equally divided between strike three looking and strike three swinging. And if you put the ball anywhere below his navel, he can't hit it. You got that high ball swing. And so he's terrible. And really, I I was doing my own version of the old scouting thing that the baseball guys use is 2 through 8, Terry
Yep.
Ryan. So two, that because nobody could ever be a one. Nobody's ever that bad, right? A one.
Hmm.
And, then an eight is
Right.
like high. But they would do that based on, okay, he's an 8 runner, he's a 6 runner, and he's a 5 fielder, and
Yeah.
they would, then coming up. But I was doing my 2 through 8 on their lineup.
Yeah.
They got a lot of threes right now.
Yeah.
They, Miranda, he might get a hit by accident, but he's a 3. Kyle Farmer's a 3.
Yeah.
Santana's played well enough to be a 5. Julian's a 3 right now. Christian Vasquez is a
Vasquez is a
3.
he's a
Three.
2.
terrible. Kirillov's a 3. Buxton's a 5 at best, which is average,
Yeah.
because he can't hit. And I mean, made a great play yesterday and got him into extra innings. But man alive, it's not a good. The Kirilov, huge disappointment. Julian, huge disappointment.
Yeah.
Farmers, it looks terrible. He did a little okay. I don't know. They're just not good because we thought the lineup was going to be the strength of this team, and it's not.
It's not.
And Kepler, you might have just seen Kepler his best. Too. He's gonna probably
Jeffers is about the only one that's dangerous all the time.
Yeah, I mean Kepler carried him there during that, the good stretch. But you could say, I've never been a big believer in. Okay, they got to play the easy teams, and that's why they were 17-3.
Right.
Well, it helped, but it's also, it's also how you're playing, and they were playing pretty good. But
yeah, they had a stretch there.
The Paddock is, I don't know how long he's going to be able to last, but he's pitching pretty good. And
they had him go 8 innings the other day, right? 8 innings for Paddock.
Yeah, and the Simeon Woods Richardson looked like. I don't know. He's been good half the time, and
good enough. Yeah.
The rotation finally had a bad game. The rotation, which we were all in a panic about, looks better than any other part of the team right now.
Yes.
And there's idiots. Duran starts a guy with a breaking ball, curveball. Let him look. The curveball becomes very effective once you make him look at 100. Okay.
Right.
And that was the first pitch, right? Wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Then he gives up on curveballs 2 home runs over the weekend, and he kind of ripped the team. Did you see that quote?
No, I didn't see it. What did he say?
He said, I wanted to throw a fastball, but they came out and basically said the Mackey came out and told them to throw a breaking ball, and they threw a breaking ball, and they gave up a home run. So
look what happens. Look what happened, you guys. I
tell you what, I was there Thursday when
you ripped them good the other day with 378 pitches without a run. That was funny.
378 pitches against the Yankees, and Jeffers, but there was a fairly good crowd. A lot of kids were there on Thursday.
Over 30,000 that game. Yeah,
the level of interest in this team right now, when you throw in the TV. You throw in the bad PR when the season started. And now you got something else to concentrate on. The Wolves fever, they're in trouble. They're in trouble.
Yeah, I think so.
On the field and off the field with the people trying to. I think they're. They thought they were going to draw 2 million building on the excitement of last year. And you took away the excitement by proudly announcing you were going to cut payroll. So it's and then the no TV thing is huge.
Yes, the thing is Comcast. Yeah, if you can't, all those customers can't watch them. We're going on almost 3 weeks of that now. 3 weeks tomorrow.
Yes,
that's
and cable has much more influence with the baseball audience than anybody else because it's an older audience. The average baseball fan's 58 or something.
Right.
Like that.
And the people that still had Comcast are the people who are probably those are your diehards. Those are the people who thought they were they were good. They were like, all right, all this stuff you're talking about, I don't care about the streaming. I don't care about anything. I still got my baseball. And then now that's gone.
Yeah.
And, they got, well, there's a hearing next month to sort this all out, I think. But that's, that's a month from now until their plan either gets proved or rejected. And you don't imagine what's going to happen much is going to happen in the meantime. And you're right. This team on the field, we've seen enough of them now to think what you say is it's more. I think the 17-3 was a lot more surprising than anything else, right? You look at it and you're just like, yeah, you're more surprised when they play well than when they don't play well at this point.
Yeah, it's just not Correa's a great shortstop, but I thought he'd be a better hitter. He's not
he's okay.
He's been an okay hitter. He doesn't. What's he got? 1 home run? two,
He's got
maybe.
2 or 3, yeah, but not much.
And Buxton's Buxton. He made a hell of a play on the bases yesterday, but he had 215 last year, right?
Yeah.
215, I think. So
They need Reusse. We got to see
oh,
if they're
they do,
still relevant when he gets back.
and they can't keep him out long enough. They're proudly keeping him from doing anything. So
Yeah.
they need him, but I don't know. They're just not very good. I
No.
keep I see they're letting Jay Jackson take what's his name? Jay Jackson,
Jackson,
right?
yeah.
He was cleaning out his locker yesterday, so he must have some phenom pitcher coming up.
I think they already
Maybe
announced who they put out a release last night. I'm trying to remember who it was, but yeah,
new
they
body.
new
Uh,
who they bring in. Can't remember.
Okay, well, it's not going to be a difference maker.
No.
He'll probably pitch once and go away. So anyway, they're in D.C. though. I wish I was there. I've been to that ballpark a few times. It's I got relatives out there, and we've been to that ballpark. But they talk about a team that won the World Series and they got rid of everybody.
Yeah, right.
Their first move was to get rid of Bryce Harper. Huh?
Right. Like, okay.
You won the World Series.
Right.
Spend some money.
Right.
Idiots.
Right.
Jesus. He goes to Philly, and they're the best team in baseball, and they love him there. They want to have parades, and
right.
It's you look at the crowds of the baseball yesterday; they were fantastic, but not for right now. It's a sad situation, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, everyone here's got Wolves fever, Patrick. We'll see
That's right.
We'll see how it goes. It's probably a good thing for everybody else involved that they got the Wolves to take the distractions for a few weeks.
And I hate to say this in the state of hockey. Give me the NBA playoffs any day over the NHL because it takes too long. And, everybody says there's nothing better than NHL playoff overtime. Everything's better than NHL playoff overtime just because it starts today doesn't mean it's going to end today. Nothing worse than NHL overtime, okay? Stinks because you don't, play 2-on-2. Get it over with, for goodness sakes. It's unbelievable. Oh, it's so great. Yeah, it lasted 7 hours. It was wonderful. Nobody can move. They're laying on the ice and wandering around. One more thing. How about our Looney Tunes?
Yes.
Boy, this is not looking good for Adrian Heath, is it?
No.
Adrian played all that boring soccer all those years, and now this team, they win every game.
Ramsey comes in. He's playing all the subs. He's doing all the things the fans have been screaming for all these years, and they're better.
Brucey McGuire, my buddy Brucey, and all those guys are just beside themselves with joy because they finally got rid of Adrian. So, anyway.
It was not wrong. All right. Well, thanks, Patrick. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. See ya. Goodbye.